So we continue the Bodhicharyavatara 9th chapter. So we are going through stanza number 114 of 9th chapter. It's the continuation of a reputation of the argument of those who believe in, that true things truly exist. The root text says, the plant arises from the seed, you say, and through it is the seed deduced. It's just the same with consciousness arising from its object. How can it fail to show the thing's existence? It was said that, we can prove that all the phenomena exists on its own truly because it's experienced or seen by our consciousness. And we can prove that the consciousness exists on its own because, because we see that it can experience the existence of the phenomena. That's what they said, and we talked about this a little bit, and now to continue that, says, when there is a plant, when the plant is there, you can understand, there is a proof that there is seed. And we can deduce that there was a seed. And because there cannot be a plant without a seed. And in the just same way, you can say that the consciousness exists because we can actually experience or see or feel the object of the consciousness, what we see or what we hear or things like that. So how can it fail to show the thing's existence? So therefore it is like that. The things also exist on its own. The consciousness also exists on its own. It's a little bit the same like saying that I feel, therefore I am. A little bit like that. Now for that, the Madhyamika's answer is, a consciousness that's different from the plant itself deduces the existence of the seed. Now when you see a plant, then we think. If we don't think, if we don't, do some analyzing, just by seeing the plant, we wouldn't know that there was the seed. But if we look into the kind of situation more deeply, then we know that usually there is a seed, and then we plant that seed, and then due to many causes and conditions. The seeds, sprout, and then seedling comes, and so therefore there is the plant. This is understood because of the cause and effect, because of the cause and effect. But that does not prove. We can understand through that the plant has its causes, and one of the main causes is its seed. But that does not necessarily prove that the cause is existing on its own, or plant is existing on its own, truly existing. That doesn't, prove any of those things. It just proves the dependence of the, of the plant and the seed, and all these things is kind of relatively or interdependently there. So therefore, a consciousness that's different from the plant itself deduces the existence of it. But what will show that consciousness exists, whereby the object is itself established? Just because I know or I can experience, or the consciousness is an object, or consciousness having the consciousness of an object, does not necessarily prove that the consciousness is truly existing on its own, or the object of the consciousness also exists on its own. It just proves a relativeness. They are relatively there. They are dependently there. It is the interdependence. And as we already discussed before, interdependence shows the relativeness, relative truth, that things are relatively there. And when the things are relatively there, interdependently there, then it never exists on its own. Because in order to have one, you have to have the other. And in order to have the other, you have to have the previous. So therefore, without one, the one doesn't exist. So therefore, you cannot say that any of them or both of them truly exists, Like when we talk about, short and long, for instance, or fast or slow, or anything like comparative, it's totally relative, So when we talk about long, it's just compared to something. And, compared with that one, this is long. Compared to something else, this is short. So it's a very relative term. There is nothing called short existing on its own, or there's nothing called long existing on its own. Short and long are totally relative. So therefore, in this way, everything that is relative, everything that is interdependent, everything that is dependently arising does not have a true existence, It is just dependently there. It's just relatively existing. So that's how everything is. All the phenomena in the universe exist dependently, and relatively, because there is nothing which is totally one, and unaffected by things. Therefore, everything is made of so many things. Therefore, everything is always changing. Therefore, it is affected by everything, and everything is because of the all kind of relative things and dependent things, and like you said that there is the forest, but actually there is no forest. There's only trees. So forest does not exist on its own. It's just imputation given by us. Then we say there is tree, but tree does not exist on its own because it's so many things. It's the branches, the barks and leaves, and and atoms and things like that. So therefore there's no tree existing on its own. It's an interdependent reality. So it's like that. It can go down to whatever, like atoms or subatomic levels, and things like that. The same with everything, with consciousness, with anything. So therefore, anything that is relative or dependent is not independently existing, and when something is not independently existing, that doesn't have true existence. So this is the understanding. So that's the 14th and 15th. Now we come to to establish or to prove that the doctrine of emptiness is true. Uphold the doctrine of exposition on the proof of those who uphold the doctrine of emptiness. Here, there are different logic or different reasoning. One is what is called the diamond splinters argument. Dorjezema. Diamond splinters argument, and that is investigating the cause, looking at the cause of the whole thing, everything. Because there's nothing which cannot have its causes. So how this cause is and what is the nature of its cause, if you look deeply in that, then how things come out, how things are produced, what are their causes and things like that. That way, we can have some understanding of the emptiness. Then the second is what we call the great interdependence argument. When you look at not the cause, but the object itself, if you are looking at an object, you look at the object itself, we understand that that object is not an independent entity, but it is an interdependent entity. There is nothing. If it is something, it has to be an interdependent entity. And if it is an interdependent entity, then it has to be empty in its nature. So this is the second very important, argument, or, very important reasoning, way of reasoning. And then the third is the looking at the result. Looking at the result. So this is, Dribblership, Chittural. I think we call it neither one nor many. The investigating of the result, the argument that refutes the origination of the existence and the non-existent effect. Usually we talk about, we try to look at the result, the product, or what actually comes out of something, resulting effect, the effect that comes out of, does this exist or does this not exist? Things like that. Is it one or it's not? It's many. So this kind of, Chiktural, Dribblership. So looking at the cause, looking at the nature, looking at the result. So these three arguments. So of course, if you study kind of elaborate Madhyamika treatises, like Madhyamika Karika or Bodhicharyavatara, then it's a very, very elaborately and very, minutely discussed. Here we don't go through in great detail, but just a little bit mention all these three arguments, and just introduce these three ways of reasoning a little bit. But I think I will not start this, because then, I think I will not be able to finish this. So just now I will read out the Tibetan stanzas, just the two stanzas, 114 and 100. Nyugu sabun lesi sabun tenye jito yin heja lesi hipaye devepane jimato. Nyugu liyen hipaye sabun ye jito njana konshi heja dito pa hipaye nye konli tos. So I think that much is there. And now, so I will not go further today. So thank you very much. All the best. See you soon. Thank you.